They told me they were coming over to help me clean the garage. Just a little spring cleaning, Rachel said on the phone. Don't lift a thing, Mom. Just put the kettle on. So I did. I even laid out 4 coffee cups, as if we were going to sit like a real family, like we used to. I wore my soft blue sweater, the one Robert used to say matched my eyes, and touched up my lipstick using the side of the toaster like a mirror. Isn't that something? I still wanted to look nice for my children. I still wanted to be loved by them. I should have known better the moment the front door opened too quickly. Rachel walked in first, brisk and tight-lipped, holding a clipboard like she was there on business. Peter followed close behind, phone in hand, already texting someone. Mark was last, quieter than usual, with a folder tucked under his arm. I stood in the kitchen, unsure whether to pour the coffee or brace myself. Mom, Rachel said too gently. That voice she uses when she's about to do something cruel and call it kindness. We've been talking. About you. About how you've been doing lately. I blinked. What do you mean? Mark cleared his throat and handed me a piece of paper. It was a brochure, some sort of resort-style senior living center, all smiling gray-haired couples and spa treatments. It looked more like a vacation ad than what it really was, a place people go when their families are done with them. Rachel kept talking. She said I'd seemed scattered lately, forgetful. You misplaced the gas bill 3 times, Mom. You left the stove on. It was once, I said, and I caught it in time. Peter added without looking up, we just want what's best for you. But they didn't. Not really. They wanted what was convenient for them. I could feel the truth under their words like splinters under skin. They weren't here to help. They were here to move me out of my life. I told them I wasn't going anywhere, that this was my home, that I'd raised them in it, rocked them through fevers, packed their lunches, paid off the mortgage with my own hands after Robert passed. That's when Rachel said it. You already signed the medical power of attorney, Mom, remember? After your fall? I didn't remember. I remembered bruises, yes. I remembered Rachel showing up with takeout and forms. I'd signed because I was tired, because I trusted them, because they were my children. An hour later, I was in the back seat of Peter's car, gripping a suitcase someone else had packed for me. Rachel sat in front, giving directions to a place I'd never agreed to go. Mark avoided my gaze completely. No one asked what I wanted to take with me. Not the framed photo of Robert and me on our wedding day. Not the recipe book my mother had given me. Not even the Afghan I'd crocheted for cold nights. We pulled up to a beige building sandwiched between a dry cleaner and a gas station. No porch, no garden, no windows that opened. They hugged me goodbye like I was going on a trip. I didn't cry in front of them, not until the door closed and the nurse handed me a clipboard. That day, they didn't just move me, they erased me, or at least they tried to. If you've ever felt discarded or underestimated, you're not alone. Subscribe to Real Her Stories. Like this video if it moved you, and leave a comment. Your story might just be the next one we tell. The first few weeks at Willow Creek Care Facility passed in a blur of beige walls and scheduled pills. Time didn't feel real there, just a loop of bingo nights, plastic trays of lukewarm food, and nurses who spoke to me like I was a child who'd lost her crayons. I barely spoke. I didn't bother correcting anyone when they called me Maggie instead of Margaret. I figured maybe they weren't wrong, maybe I wasn't myself anymore. My room was small, clean, and heartbreakingly quiet. I kept the curtains open just to feel the sun on my skin. Sometimes I'd stare out at the parking lot and wonder if any of them missed me, but the phone stayed silent, not a single visit, not a single call. Then one morning at breakfast, I heard her before I saw her. "You call this coffee?" the voice barked. "I've seen better brew come out of a drip pan." Heads turned, and there she was, Nina, striding into the dining hall in a leopard print scarf, leaning hard on a hot pink cane and grinning like she owned the place. "You're new," she said, pointing her spoon at me. "You've got that freshly betrayed by family look. Want to sit with us?" I blinked. I hadn't said yes, but I followed her anyway. That's how I met Estelle, soft-spoken, eyes always watching, voice like the last page of a favorite book, and Barbara, tall, elegant, and intimidating, with a silver bun that looked like it could double as a weapon. Barbara had been a law professor for 30 years, and she never let you forget it. The 3 of them became my lifeline. We had lunch together every day, then poker on Tuesdays, and late-night talks in the rec room over herbal tea Nina snuck in from home. We laughed, we cried, and for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel invisible. One rainy afternoon, I decided to reorganize my dresser. A drawer stuck halfway open, and when I forced it, something slid to the back. It was old, leather-bound, dusty. My document folio. I didn't even realize it had made it here with me. Inside, a handful of receipts, an old photo of Robert, and my heart stopped. The original deed to my house, still in my name. No transfer, no notary stamp, just my signature. I sat on the edge of the bed, hands trembling. My breath caught in my throat. It was still mine. My home. My name. My history. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't gone. I was still here. I brought the folder to Barbara the next day during our tea circle. She looked over it with her readers perched on her nose. "They got you on the medical power of attorney, sure," she muttered. "But this? They haven't touched this. You still own that house." "But they could be trying to sell it," I whispered. Barbara's eyes narrowed. "Then we're going to beat them to it." It started small, just a plan whispered behind closed doors. But soon we had Nina calling her old real estate friend, who still owed her a favor, and Estelle sneaking us access to the community computer lab during off hours. Barbara pulled strings like she was still running a courtroom. The staff thought we were planning a bridge tournament. We were planning a liberation. I opened a Gmail account, listed the property with a trusted agent, and waited. Less than 48 hours later, we had an offer, full asking price. Barbara used an old contact, a lawyer named Dennis, to handle the paperwork discreetly. Estelle helped me set up a new bank account, one with only my name on it. I watched the wire transfer hit my balance like a thunderclap of justice. I stood in the hallway that night, looking out the window toward the stars. For the first time in years, I felt free. Not because of the money, though I won't lie. It felt good, but because I had taken something back, a piece of myself. Nina found me there, arms folded across her chest. "You look dangerous," she said. "I feel dangerous," I whispered. She winked. "Good, let's keep going." We picked Friday night for a reason. The staff would be distracted with bingo in the rec room, and Nina had slipped one of the aides a bottle of perfume and a cheese pizza to accidentally forget to check my room. Estelle had packed our bags small, no frills, just the essentials. Barbara walked out with the confidence of someone headed to a board meeting, not breaking out of assisted living. The rideshare pulled up at 7:46 p.m. sharp. The driver didn't ask questions, just popped the trunk and tapped the GPS. The car smelled like air freshener and freedom. I looked back at Willow Creek only once, a beige box in the rearview mirror fading into the dark. We didn't speak much on the way to the airport, just exchanged glances that said, "Can you believe we're actually doing this?" At check-in, the attendant looked us over. 4 silver-haired women with wrinkled passports and suspiciously light luggage, and smiled like he'd just seen a miracle. Our destination? Lisbon, Portugal. A place I'd only ever seen on travel shows. I used to watch with Robert back when the kids were small and we'd whisper dreams over instant coffee after they went to bed. I never thought I'd make it there. Certainly not like this. The flight was long, uncomfortable, and perfect. Nina snored the whole way. Estelle gripped her rosary beads. Barbara read a spy novel and sipped tomato juice like we were on a cruise. Me? I stared out the window the entire time, afraid that if I blinked, I'd wake up back in that small, quiet room where they tried to forget me. Lisbon was more beautiful than I imagined. Cobblestone streets that kissed your feet, the scent of fresh bread drifting from every corner, and light that made even my tired skin glow a little. We stayed in a modest guest house tucked between 2 flowered balconies. Every morning we shared bread and jam, and every night we took slow walks by the water, laughing like girls. We were free. Not young, not naive, just free. Then one morning it happened. I checked my email on the guest house computer, expecting nothing. Instead, I saw a message with the subject line, "Please read this." It was from Sophie, my granddaughter. She was 16 now, nearly grown. The last time I saw her, she was still drawing butterflies on construction paper and sneaking into my bed on stormy nights. The message was short, simple, and heartbreaking. "Grandma, I believe you. I heard your story on a podcast about elder betrayal. I know it was you. I found the letters. Please don't shut me out. I miss you. I want to know you again." My hands trembled on the keyboard. I hadn't cried since we landed, but then I did. We arranged to meet in Savannah, somewhere neutral, somewhere warm, somewhere I'd always wanted to see. She was waiting on a bench under a moss-covered oak in Forsyth Park, wearing a denim jacket 2 sizes too big and nervous hope in her eyes. "Hi, Grandma," she whispered when she saw me. "Hi, sweetheart." We walked for hours. She told me how she found the letters, ones her grandfather, my Robert, had written during the last years of his life. Letters I'd never seen. Letters he must have hidden away, fearing I wouldn't believe what he saw in our children. He had seen it all, the entitlement, the subtle control, the way they waited for me to grow weak. "I couldn't stay in that house," Sophie said, "not after knowing what they did to you." I looked at her and saw a flicker of the man I once loved. That same fierce loyalty, that same quiet strength. That night, over warm grits and sweet tea, we started dreaming out loud. What if this wasn't just our story? What if there were other women like me? What if we built something for them? And that's how the Margaret Elaine Foundation was born. Scribbled ideas on a napkin, big dreams whispered between 2 generations of women who refused to disappear. We weren't running anymore, we were rising. We opened the first Haven House in Savannah just 6 months after that park bench meeting. It was a white clapboard home with green shutters and a wraparound porch that seemed to reach out and say, "You're safe here." It had 5 bedrooms, a garden full of lavender and tomatoes, and the sound of wind chimes dancing in the Georgia breeze. The house filled quickly with women who, like me, had been forgotten, pushed aside, or silenced. Some had been placed in facilities against their will. Others had their bank accounts emptied by people who once called them Mom. They arrived with plastic bags, quiet eyes, and shoulders curved from years of carrying too much alone. And slowly, just like I had, they began to rise again. Sophie ran the day-to-day operations. She was a marvel, fierce, focused, and full of ideas. I became the face of the foundation, speaking on behalf of the women who couldn't yet speak for themselves. Letters poured in, emails, messages, from all over the country. This happened to my aunt. My mother never had a voice. I wish she'd known a place like this existed. How can I help? We didn't have all the answers, but we had purpose. And sometimes, that's enough to build a miracle. When a local journalist came to interview me, she asked if I had anything to say to my children. I thought for a long time, then said, "I forgive you, but I'll never forget who I became without you." That line spread like wildfire. Within the year, we opened more Haven houses in Asheville, Michigan, and Oregon, each one with a porch, each one with a garden, each one with women learning that it's not too late to begin again. And then, just before the holidays, my friends and I took one last trip together, a cruise to Alaska. Nina brought sequined scarves. Estelle packed her poetry. Barbara carried a stack of legal pads just in case anyone needed saving at sea. One night, under a chandelier in the ship's ballroom, the band began to play a slow Ella Fitzgerald tune. I stood up alone and walked to the dance floor. No partner, no need. I danced, not to impress, not to remember, but because for the first time, I felt whole. On our final morning, as the ship pulled into port, Sophie and I stood on deck, wrapped in blankets, coffee in hand. "Do you miss them?" she asked softly. I watched the water, then said, "I miss the version of them I thought was real, but I don't miss being invisible." And that's the truth. So if you're watching this and you've ever felt unseen, let me tell you, you're not too old, you're not too late, and you are absolutely not done yet. If no one ever told you, let me be the first, your story still matters. And someone out there is waiting to hear it. Thank you for listening to mine. I hope you'll share yours below. Subscribe to Real Her Stories for more voices like mine, real women rewriting their endings, one brave chapter at a time.